there is a quiet truth most people never hear. The body does not renew itself through effort. It renews itself through environment. Long before supplements, before complicated routines, before the idea of anti-aging ever existed, people understood something simpler. What surrounds you while you sleep shapes how you return to the world. And one of the oldest objects used for this purpose was never meant to be consumed, worn, or activated. It was placed above the body and then left alone. Your body listens most closely when you are still, not when you are trying to change, not when you are thinking hard or forcing improvement, but when you are resting, when your breath slows, your muscles soften, and your nervous system finally releases its grip. This is why so many older traditions focused on the sleeping space, not the waking hours, not the busy mind, but the place where the body repairs itself without asking permission. Copper was often chosen for this space because it behaves differently than most materials. Physically, copper is one of the most efficient conductors on Earth. It moves energy, heat, and subtle electrical signals with very little resistance. The human body itself runs on tiny electrical impulses, in the nerves, the brain, the heart. Spiritually, copper has long been associated with circulation, vitality, and renewal. Ancient cultures noticed that it did not simply hold energy, it allowed energy to flow. And when copper is shaped into a pyramid, something unusual happens. The pyramid is not symbolic, it is structural. Its geometry naturally draws energy inward and upward, concentrating it toward a single point. This is why pyramidal forms have appeared independently across civilizations that never met. They were responding to function, not fashion. When a copper pyramid is placed above the bed, suspended or positioned so it creates a space around where you sleep, it forms a kind of energetic canopy. Nothing dramatic, nothing forceful, just a quiet, coherent field. Many traditions believe this field helped the body remember its original rhythm, the pace it kept before stress, before accumulation, before the slow tightening that we call aging, not by reversing time, but by reducing internal noise. If you choose to try this, the practice itself is simple. You place a copper pyramid in a hanging position over your bed, centered if possible, high enough that it feels spacious, not intrusive. You do not need to touch it. You do not need to think about it. It does not require rituals, affirmations, or belief. It simply needs to remain where your body rests most deeply. Over time, many people notice that the space itself feels different, calmer, steadier, less mentally cluttered. Sleep may feel heavier, but also clearer. Dreams may become more vivid or easier to remember, as if the mind is no longer rushing to shut itself off. Some describe waking with a quieter body, less stiffness, less internal resistance. Others notice emotional steadiness, as if small irritations no longer linger as long. From a metaphysical perspective, the pyramid is said to align and balance the body's energetic centers during rest, when the conscious mind is no longer interfering. Copper's grounding quality helps excess mental energy settle downward, which can create a sense of stability and ease. From a physical perspective, copper has long been associated with circulation and inflammation support, not as a cure, but as a gentle companion to the body's own repair processes. And from a psychological perspective, the mind responds powerfully to environments that feel ordered, intentional, and protected. None of these effects need to be dramatic to be meaningful. They tend to show up quietly, a sense of calm that lingers into the morning, clearer thinking, a subtle feeling of youthfulness, not excitement, but freshness. Small improvements you weren't looking for. You may not even connect them to the pyramid at first. What matters most is this. You do not need to believe in anything mystical for this to work for you. Your body already understands geometry. Your nervous system already responds to conductive materials. Your subconscious already relaxes when the environment feels coherent and safe. You are not asking the pyramid to do something extraordinary. You are simply allowing your body to rest inside a space designed to support renewal, and sometimes that is enough. What happens next is rarely sudden. It unfolds the way real restoration always does, quietly, without announcement. Over the next few days, you may begin to notice that your body settles more easily at night. The moment you lie down, something inside you lets go sooner than it used to. Your breathing slows without effort. The small, unconscious tension you've carried for years loosens its grip. This is not the feeling of being energized. It is the feeling of being unburdened. When the nervous system rests more deeply, the body shifts out of survival mode. Repair mechanisms work more efficiently. Inflammation softens, circulation improves. The face often reflects this before anything else. Not in dramatic changes, but in a rested quality, a subtle softness, a sense that time is no longer pressing as hard against you. Aging, in many traditions, was never seen as time alone. It was seen as accumulation, accumulated stress, accumulated tension, accumulated interference with the body's natural rhythm. When those layers begin to thin, the body does not fight age. It simply stops rushing toward it. You may find your thinking becomes clearer during the day. Decisions feel simpler. Words come more easily. There is less internal static. This is often attributed in metaphysical traditions to the pyramid's ability to create a balanced energy field, one that supports mental coherence and emotional stability. Dreams may also shift, not necessarily more vivid, but more meaningful. You may wake with insights that feel complete rather than fragmented, as though the mind had time to finish its sentences. For some, there is a quiet sense of protection, not fear-based, not dramatic, just a feeling that the space where you sleep is held, shielded, undisturbed. This is why copper pyramids were sometimes used as tools for spiritual connection, not because they force contact with higher realms, but because they reduce internal interference. When the mind quiets, intuition does not need to shout. Grounding is another subtle effect. Copper is associated with stabilizing excess mental or emotional energy. If you've ever felt overstimulated, restless, or vaguely unanchored, you may notice a gentle return to center, a steadiness that does not require effort to maintain. Again, none of this needs to be dramatic. The most convincing changes are often the smallest ones. The moments when you realize something that used to bother you no longer does, or when your body feels cooperative instead of resistant. It's important to understand this clearly. You are not placing a pyramid above your bed to chase youth, control outcomes, or override nature. You are creating a condition where the body is allowed to remember how it repairs itself, a condition where the mind no longer interferes with rest, a condition where aging slows not because time stops, but because stress does. Nothing mystical is required. Nothing needs to be believed. You do not need to assign meaning, symbolism, or expectation. The structure does its work by being what it is. Your body responds by doing what it already knows how to do. So tonight, if you choose, you simply place it there. You let the room hold you. You let the stillness do what thought never could. And then you sleep, not waiting for proof, not watching for change, just resting inside a space that quietly supports renewal. Sometimes, the most effective practices are the ones that ask nothing from you at all.